Hey out there, here we are at the Badger Rock Urban Farm, and we are here to do a virtual workshop on elderberries. It is almost elderberry season. Elderberries are a plant that you can find all over Wisconsin. They grow in state parks all over the place. Once you learn to identify them, you start to see them literally everywhere. They are a beautiful plant, but they also are really, really useful. So if you want to come a little closer, I'll show you first off the flowers. So if you have ever had an elderflower cordial or something like that, in some of the fancy drinks you can get in the grocery store, I know that there's like an elderflower tonic water. There's all kinds of things with elderflower. This is what it's made out of. And the elderflowers are actually a really great medicine. If you come during the season when this plant is flowering, you can collect the flowers and dry them and then save them and use them in the winter for a tea to help bring down a fever. They also, oh, they just smell good. They have this like really almost slightly sweet taste to them. So they're not only a great medicine, but they're also pretty delicious. The only downside of harvesting the flowers is if you take all the flowers, you don't get the fruits, which is what comes next after the flowers get pollinated. So you can see these fruits are still green. So when we decided to do this workshop, we kind of were taking a guess of when elderberry season was going to hit this year and when these were going to be ripe. They're not quite there. When this elderberry is ripe, the fruits will be bluish, purplish black, kind of a dark color. A couple things to know about elders. There are ones that you can use for medicine, and there are ones that are absolutely toxic. So you need to know the difference between the two. Black elderberries or Mexican elderberries, Sambucus nigra or Sambucus mexicana, are the ones that you can use for medicine. And you can see how the flowers are almost like in an umbrella shape. The flowers, see how they look like a little umbrella you could carry over your head like a curved shape? The one that is toxic has a cone-shaped flower and has a cone-shaped berry cluster, and the berries are red. Don't use that one. That one is not edible, not medicinal. It is toxic. All elderberries are actually slightly toxic. The part that's toxic is the seeds inside the berries. So you want to make sure that you cook them before you use them. So usually when you are making a medicine out of elderberries, you want to harvest the fruits, and then you want to cook them. And the way that I almost always use elderberries in a medicine is making them into an elderberry syrup. That is because it tastes delicious, for one thing. For another thing, it can keep a long time because of you can use honey or you can use sugar. I prefer when I can to use raw honey because that is a medicine in and of itself. But if you use raw honey, or you can use a bunch of sugar, the sugar in honey or the sugar in sugar will help preserve the elderberry too, will help preserve the syrup to keep it for longer. Another way to make sure that you actually have an elderberry is if you look at the leaves, they look like they're holding hands across the stem. See how they're right across the stem for each other, each little leaflet? That's called opposite. It's like they're like this instead of like this. That's alternate. This is opposite. Alternate, opposite. Make sure that your plant that you're picking from has opposite leaves, because that is a really important identifying characteristic of an elderberry. Opposite leaves, umbrella-shaped flowers, and umbrella-shaped berry clusters, dark purple or black fruit, not red. All right, another really cool thing about elder is the stems are hollow. So once the season is done and you've eaten you've made your berries into syrup, you've harvested your flowers for your tea, you can then harvest the stems and use them to make flutes. I've made little musical instruments out of them before. You can also put little corks in one end and make a little container that you can put little things inside. They're a very cool, perfectly round, perfectly hollow stemmed kind of a plant too. So these are not ready to harvest, but I do have some dried elderberries that we're going to use so that I can show you all how to then use the berries to make a syrup. So we will see you all. Oh, also I should say, these berries, we harvest them all and we freeze them to save them to use with our classes, with our middle school and elementary school and high school kids in the winter. So if you are a Badger Rock gardener, please don't harvest these. We are counting on having them for our classes for our kids for this winter. And they should be ready very soon. All right, y'all, we'll see you soon in the kitchen. All right, here we are in the kitchen to demonstrate how to make those elderberries into a delicious elderberry syrup. So one great thing about elderberries is you can freeze them, so you can use them any time of the year. If a lot of times right during harvest time is when you have the least time for one thing, and also the least desire to be standing in front of a hot stove, right? So if you harvest your elderberries and stick them in the freezer, you can pull them out when it's fall and it's chilly and it's cozy to be cooking something that smells delicious on your stovetop. So the things that I like to put in my elderberry syrup, I always start with a base of water. So I'm just going to put 3.5 cups of water into a pot. And cooking the syrup takes a long time because you want to cook it down until the water is cooked away by like half. So you want to end up with maybe like, instead of 3.5 cups of water in this pot, down to like closer to a cup of water, a cup of syrup, or a little more than a cup of syrup left. So you want to cook it down till it thickens up a little bit. So we start with the water. And then, like I said, we're going to be using dried elderberries because the ones out in the garden are not actually quite ready to harvest yet. So drying them is another way that you can preserve them, to use them when it's not the growing season. So you can just take your elderberries, put them in a dehydrator, and dry them up. It takes probably about 8 hours to dry them in a dehydrator. And then you have elderberries. I'm going to put a little bit, oops, a little bit fewer of that. Oh, look at me. Look at me wasting my elderberries. The reason I'm using a little bit less of the dried kind is because they have less water in them. This is like, if these were fresh, this would probably be like 1.3 cups right here of fresh ones because they're plumper, they have water. So I'm just using a little bit less of the dried to make the syrup than I would if I was using the fresh. So I'll just put them in the soup pot with the water. Another thing I really like to put in elderberry syrup is ginger. And that's because the medicinal use of elderberry syrup is really as like a cold and flu preventative tonic, because it helps boost your immune function. So it's really to kind of get your immune system ready for a cold and flu season. So some people take elderberry tonic preventatively. So just take a teaspoonful every day during the fall, during cold and flu season. Or if you do get sick, you can take up to 3 teaspoons a day over the course of the day, and to help your body knock that sickness out more quickly. And so ginger is also a great warming herb too, for cold and flu season. So I'm just going to add some fresh ginger root. You can get that at pretty much any grocery store these days. Just make sure you take the peel off and then you grate it. And then I'm going to put some cinnamon. Why? Because cinnamon is delicious. It's also a really great warming herb for that cold and flu season. And when you cook this, your house is going to smell like some kind of winter feast is coming, because it has that smell of mulling spices while you're cooking it. It has that really warm you up on a chilly night kind of a smell to it. I'm also going to put cloves. I'm not a huge fan of cloves, but in this recipe, they are just the thing. So I put just 1/2 teaspoon. You don't want to put more than that because they're super, super strong. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on the stovetop, and I'm going to bring it to a boil and then turn it down to a simmer and let it simmer for quite a long time, maybe at least half an hour, until the liquid has decreased by half. And at that point, you take your syrup off the stove and you add a full cup of ideally local raw honey. Find a local beekeeper. We have bees. Everyone's always asking for honey. Sometimes we have it, sometimes we don't, because it goes out the door so fast. But the best is a local beekeeper who can sell you some raw honey. Mr. Robert Pierce also sells honey down on South Park Street at the Labor Temple. Go hit him up too. And this is not only preserves the syrup, but it also adds that thickness to make it more like a syrup. And it also adds medicinal benefit itself, because raw honey has lots of great stuff for your digestive system. And your digestive system is really like your second immune system. That's where your insides interface with the outside, right? All the way down through your body. So if you can keep your digestive system healthy and well and full of good microorganisms, you are going to be better off and get less sick in the first place. So raw honey will help you with that too. So I'm just going to get this simmering. And we will bring this up to a boil. And don't add honey until the simmering part is all done, because if you throw your raw honey in right now, guess what? It's not raw anymore. That will cook it, and that will kill a lot of those microorganisms that have that great benefit for your body. So wait until your syrup is all done cooking, it's thickened up, and it's cooled down a little bit. Then you can put your honey in, and then you'll have elderberry syrup ready to go. All right, here we are back in the kitchen. We have cooked our elderberry syrup down until the water's about half the volume it was before, and it looks nice and thicker. And so what we're going to do is we're going to pour it through a strainer. If you have some cheesecloth, you could put that on top of your strainer too, just to get a little better strain out of it. And I'm just going to pour these elderberries and this liquid through here. And so you can see with the elderberry syrup, the actual seeds of the elderberries are going to stay behind, because what I'm going to do is just press with the back of the spoon on this colander and smoosh all the goodness out of those elderberries, so it sinks down into the water below where it's been simmering. And I wish you all could smell what it smells like in this kitchen right now. It is like, it's that fall time, winter time, cinnamon time smell. It smells so good. And I'm just gonna get as much of the goodness out of these berries as I can. And when you've got pretty much, so there's no more dripping and dropping, then you would take your honey. And this is the moment. We've also let this cool down a little bit. So it's cool enough that I can actually like put my hand on the pot and not burn myself. Still warm enough to, for that honey to kind of dissolve in there pretty well. And like I said, I'm going to do a full cup of honey. So this is what really turns it into a thicker syrup consistency, is the honey. I'm just going to pour that in there. Don't let any of that honey go to waste. It's precious as gold. All right, and then I am going to stir this up. I did want to say too, back during COVID, when COVID first hit, I was looking at, herbal possibilities for tending to my health and my family's health and my community's health. And I thought about herbal elderberry syrup as a possible, something to boost your immune system in COVID times. And what I was reading is that actually it activates your immune system in such a way with COVID that it actually increases the inflammation in your lungs. So you should not take elderberry as a treatment for COVID. I don't know if the research has changed since that time, but I would encourage you, if you do have COVID, to look it up and to do your research and talk to your doctor and your herbal friends and practitioners, and just get some input, do some research before you take this for COVID. But if you are taking it just for immune system support, cold and flu season, it is a delicious, lovely recipe. And you can see it's not like thick like maple syrup, But look at that color. It's almost like, oh, it's just the deepest purple, most beautiful color. And it's thicker than water, thinner than maple syrup. But it tastes delicious, and you can just have it straight, or you can put it in a tea, up to your discretion, I would say. But it's a delicious, lovely herbal remedy. Elderberries, like I said, are prolific all throughout Wisconsin, so you can find them literally anywhere. But don't go picking them unless you're 100% plus sure that it's actually an elderberry and it's actually the kind that you can eat. So go with somebody who really knows their plants for the first many times that you visit and learn about a new herbal remedy, to make sure that you're getting what you think you're getting, because plants are beautiful, lovely allies, and they can be dangerous if they're not used appropriately, or if you think you're using something that's actually something else. So be careful out there, but really enjoy the harvest season. This is elderberry season is one of my favorites. This plant has so many uses in all the seasons. So if you try it out, let us know what you thought. And yeah, hold on to it. I keep my elderberry syrup in the refrigerator just to extend its life a little longer. It can keep for many months. So pop it in. Make your elderberry syrup now if you want to. Pop it in the fridge. It will still be good for cold and flu season coming up in the fall. We're not going to talk too much about fall yet. I'm not quite ready for summer to be over. So enjoy the summer while we have it, and we'll see y'all next time.